Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome, welcome. This is episode number 12 of season 2 of the P.W.P sessions, the Poets with Purpose sessions. I am your host, Matiella Figueroa. Thank you all so much for joining me this afternoon. To this afternoon's guest is Tessa Matiella. And before we get started with the conversation, I'm going to do an introduction. So this is, again, episode number 12. And for those that are not already familiar with this podcast, the P.W.P sessions, or the Poets with Purpose sessions, is a podcast that I created where I interview new or established authors of poetry, as well as rappers or MCs. I feature a performance of their work along with an audience Q&A session. I am your host, Matiella Figueroa. I am a poet, author, blogger, workshop facilitator, and event host, and I am the creator of the P.W.P sessions. And this afternoon's guest is Tessa Matiella, and this is her bio. Ever since being published in a junior poets anthology in 8th grade in Edmond, Oklahoma, Tessa Matiella has been affected by the literary arts such as the skillfully structured essay and all forms of poetry. Although Tessa quit college in the late 1990s, she continued attending poetry and essay writing classes at a local writing school in downtown San Antonio, Texas, called Gemini Inc. Tessa found her way back to college in the summer of 2016 at one of the Alamo community colleges. Several years and more term papers than she imagined later, she graduated with an Associates of Arts in 2020. After a couple of months, Tessa M. signed up for classes with the previously mentioned writing school, Gemini Inc. Tessa has attended classes recently taught by poet Sheila Black. Tessa has also studied essay writing with San Antonio Express News columnist Carrie Clack. Tessa enjoys reading and writing many types of poetry, including the tanku, haiku, free verse, simple rhyme, and prose poetry. Last year, Tessa's quadruple verse America-style haiku was published in a local arts and events paper magazine called Street Talk in San Antonio, Texas. Tessa M. began attending and reading at local open mic evenings in 2018 and was grateful to read at a local open mic afternoon for the jazz poets of San Antonio, and grateful to be backed with music by a local improv band called The Chromosomes. Most recently, Tessa has studied with poet Veronica Golos in May of 2022. She continues to attend open mic readings online and in person, and continues to study, read, and write poetry on a weekly basis. Now, without further ado, I introduce Tessa Matiella. Good afternoon, Tessa. How are you?
Good afternoon, Noel.
How are you today?
Hey, good. Doing well.
Yeah, thank you for being my guest, and I hope I pronounced your last name correctly.
You did, yes.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to start off with a basic question that I ask all my guests. Who is Tessa? Who is Tessa Matiella? How would you describe yourself or define yourself?
I would describe myself as I'm a studying poet and an activist, and an environmental activist, and a gun rights activist as well. When I'm not writing poetry, I'm jogging, biking, hiking, walking, well, you name it, to raise money for the Nature Conservancy organization through charity miles. I recycle and do as much conservation of the water and paper and plastic products as I can. So I'm learning. I'm like an activist, but I try and channel my energy to help the environment and the people affected by gun violence.
Awesome. Now take me back to the beginnings of like when you started getting into poetry. Like, what was it about poetry that impacted you in such a way that you felt like you would begin having, giving yourself a chance to experiment with it and pursue it for yourself?
Oh, okay. So, well, that would be so while studying it took me longer in high school to get the math assignments. And so kind of I would let my mind wander and I'd start to try and then or I'd also start reading poetry and just try and come up with rhymes and rhyme schemes or just rhythm that I would read while I was trying to go to the next algebra equation. So
Awesome. And what, like, when you started writing poetry, like, what were the first subjects that you started experimenting with or writing about?
um, uh, the first one was about a tree, a weeping willow and children. And then from there, it was about a cat, my pet cat. And then it just progressed into the environment. And I wrote a poem about meditation. And then I've also written one as that I put up on Twitter as kind of an encouragement to Congress to do something after the Uvalde shootings happened recently.
Mhm. Awesome. And as you began to develop your skills as a writer, like, what would you say was your motivation to continue to pursue poetry?
Um, I think that the fact that my motivation to continue to pursue poetry was probably based on the fact that you can always improve. And when you do as a writer, if you do journal writing, you can sometimes you'll get to just a point that's just so it- just in just right on that I don't know how to explain it other than it's just so right
Mhm.
that you just start going into this other rhythm of writing and sort of the poem starts, I believe it because of through God it encourages us with I mean, if we're giving gifts, we're encouraged, and God is writing the poem through us, and
Mhm.
it's sort of you just kind of got to settle down and allow it to happen.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Poetry always, as writers, we always have opportunity to grow and improve and expand. And like you said, when you allow it to flow naturally, it makes a difference as opposed to having it being forced. When it flows naturally, whatever it is you're speaking on has a better impact because the reader of it will have a better understanding of who or what you're talking about. When it flows naturally as opposed to being forced. And with that being said, like, who or what would you give credit to helping you develop your skills as a writer and a poet?
I'd say Mary Oliver. I just love her poetry. Who Also Naomi Shahid Nye. She's a local poet in San Antonio, and I've listened to her on several occasions and I've read her poetry. There's also let's see, Sheila Black. Just took amazing. Just stunned by her poetry, and I just sort of also when I let's see, I've also always just kind of liked um, been around Shakespeare at either like standing off on the side doing a walk on role or something, and so as a when I was younger, and so I sort of absorbed that, and it just sort of kind of took off in some of my writing too. And also one more I want to mention, one more besides the haiku poets. Uh, there's Essa, ESSA, or I think that's how you pronounce it. And then uh, oh, I can't think of it right now but a lot of the traditional Japanese haiku poets have influenced me by their simplicity and direct and just zenness that they could come to some summary within 17 syllables of something that's new,
Right,
or
right.
so.
Definitely, definitely. Now, as your bio stated, you've attended writing classes and you've attended, various different poetry events. Do you have any plans to put together your own collection of poetry?
Yes, I would love to. I just don't know how to go about doing that.
Mhm.
I have pictures and that I would like to include in photographs that I've taken to include with some of the poems. And yes, I would jump at the chance. So.
Awesome, awesome. Now, have you decided like what route to take in terms of whether or not you want to do the traditional publishing route or to be self-published? Has that been determined as of yet?
Um, I'm not sure. I kind of am just learning from other poets of what the best way to go is. So I mean, what I'm not. I've got like I don't have that much saved, so probably something that's workable as far as monetary goes. So yeah,
Right,
I'm not
right.
really.
Well, I can definitely attest to that. It's all about what works for you. Me personally, with the assistance of a couple of people, I consider my first book of poetry to be self-published. I didn't get hire an agent and go through the whole, traditional route of getting published. Now that choice may not necessarily be easier, but it definitely allows you more freedom because you have greater control of how you want to present yourself, how you want your book to look, the content that you want. And also you get to decide for yourself, like the audience that you want to reach with your work. So to a degree, there's greater flexibility. And depending on your budget, you'll be able to have options in that regard. So there's pros and cons to both, but in my point of view, it's all about what works best for you in terms of how you want to present yourself and distribute your work. But there's definitely options to consider.
Awesome.
um when and well, as you journey to prepare, to put your collection of poetry together, like have you decided on like a theme for your book? Like, have you decided on like what types of poetry that you want to include in this first collection?
Yes, I'd like to include most of my nature haiku, double haikus or triple haikus, and I have two free verse. One is about a meditation, a day of meditation, and then I also do want to maybe uh, in, somehow get another book and just kind of dedicate it to standing up for human rights, various human rights causes. And that would include the poem that I did put on Twitter, just kind of encouraging Congress to work together or to somehow bring some sort of bill to the table so that the children, the angels that passed in Uvalde, there could, something could be done. So.
Excellent, excellent. Now you mentioned that you're an activist. Like what role? How much of a role does your activism play in your poetry?
Um, Well, so when I am exercising to raise money for the Nature Conservancy, I will just let myself. I'll just start thinking of the moment around me and clear my mind and meditate as I jog or hike, and I have my phone always with me, and I'll just put if I come up with a few lines, I'll just tap it into my phone, or just a general idea and put them into my phone. And most of the time it is about the joy of nature and how we need to preserve it, and so that it's still there when we go back again to um, partake in it.
Right, right. Now, when it comes to your writing, like, do you do you feel that you have certain subjects that you like to write about more than others, or are you the type of writer that, basically writes what they feel at any given moment?
Um, I usually write what I feel at any given moment, and then I'll journal about it, and then try and get a bit from that. Sometimes I'll just go right into the writing of the haiku. It's not as interesting though if you go right into it. It's more interesting if you journal about it and then try and pick something that's honest from that journal writing.
Mhm,
So.
mhm.
Mhm.
Excellent, excellent. Now, I'm sure you heard the word representation, being thrown around in different circles, as especially when you're talking about the arts overall. But in terms of poetry specifically, and yourself as a writer and a poet, like when it comes to representation, how important is it to you to make sure that you're representing yourself in your totality? Whether you're talking about, race, gender, ethnicity, culture, your background, your experiences as a woman, where you live, all of those life factors taken into consideration. Like when you write your poetry, how important is it to you to make sure that you're representing yourself through your writing?
That's the older I get, that's becoming more and more important to me, and just in my that I want to. It's just kind of not identify. I'm trying to get away, stop talking about the ego, and just that I want to be come to the honest reality in my mind and with my heart and soul, of what's important to me, and what's affects me, and what has molded me as an individual. And I am, and being part Latina, um, I always will. My grandmother it was a big part of my life as a child, in that she was very influential in my dad's life, and that she was the gentle, nurturing force. And so I that energy I notice her energy in other people. And maybe it's just that maybe it's part the Latina energy, but that still affects me, and it has affected me at work, and motivated me and inspired me to stop and to listen and to um, be in the moment, with the earth, and the energy that is there, or this, that you just kind of comes by, so.
Excellent, excellent. And what has been the response to your work? Like what kinds of reactions have people given to your poetry?
um I so I got the one poem published, and so I have a group of friends on Facebook, and they um seem to enjoy it. And so mostly they seem to think it's okay, it's good. I don't know if it's great, but I can't stop writing poetry. And I a friend of mine named Rudy Harsh, sometimes he's a spiritual director, and kind of a bit of a guru, and he will sometimes comment on some things I've written. And I'm very grateful when he does as well.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Well, that provides the perfect segue into the next segment, which is that it'll be your time, Tessa, to take the mic. Now, at this time, I like to give you space to do up to 5 poems. You don't have to do 5, but I want to give you this time and space to share a couple of samples of your poetry to give our audience an idea of your writing style. So at this time, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Noel. Yes, so I am going to go ahead and just read the poem that I did. It's short, but I couldn't stop and writing it. So this is called "Now is the Time." Their time is up, their pencils are down. Why did this have to happen in this town, or your town, or ours, or any for that matter? In grocery stores, in elementary schools, churches and Walmarts, in high schools and hospitals, people have had to suffer. So Congress, now it is your turn. The time for them in this dimension has run out, but you have time in your life now. So pick up pens and pencils that were sadly left and sign bills into law in the name of love for these angels that passed, to lessen the chances that this can happen again. The quiet knowing of a hill country revelation. Within a quiet neighborhood, tucked in the hill country of a southern central Texas city, I jog up the incline of a cul-de-sac for the 12th time. As the sun rises in the sky, the climate outside begins its daily metamorphosis into the atmospheric conditions of a North American desert. As the sun rays blaze, they blast out burning, heavy heat. My feet in a steady jogger's rhythm now carry me as I pass through glorious, cool pools of shade from trees as their shadows stretch across the street. It is the trees and also other forms of flora in nature that are keeping me going, providing me and any other being outside at this time a mercy, a comfort, a kindness from the oppressive summer heat. How gracious nature is now, at this time, has been in the past, and hopefully will continue to be through time. Maybe we need nature as much as nature needs us. Let's you and I make efforts to sustain this blessing from the holy. My furry companion, a triple haiku. Furry companion, my unconditional love, I mourn the loss of your earthly form, your constantness assailed during the chaos of COVID. I gently part soil in a planter shaped like you, placing new life into the world in your honor. Protecting what heals, a quadruple haiku. A stationary stepstone bridge passes through a gently rippling creek. The man-made stones wait for you to trail across, reaching nature's embrace. You are welcomed into her leafy arms, and healing begins again. So join the cause to sustain so that you may return and she remain. Embodiments of love. Steadily biking, I pass by green grass-filled fields, calmed by their cool presence. Friendly faces with large, deep, soft, dark eyes gently gaze back at me. I stop pedaling, park my bike, and draw near, heart longing to connect. Standing still, I reach out a hand. As they approach, gladness fills my soul. I have one last one that I'm working on, and it's just sort of a work in progress. I am one with the hill as I trudge up it, straining to keep my feet moving. I am one with the early fall heat as it bears down on me, taunting me and drying up the creative word flow in my mind. I am one with the cool breeze as it blesses me and the trees, making my wisps of hair not tucked down move in the air, as well as the extended branches of trees with leaves.
Wow, excellent, excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, those were poetry selections shared by Tessa E. Matiella. Tessa, thank you so much. I enjoyed the subject matter. I enjoyed the imagery. Very powerful work. Thank you so much for sharing this afternoon.
Thank you so much, Noel. Thank you.
Now we're going to move on to our next segment. And that is we're going to do a little Q&A session. And one question I like to ask is, if you could collaborate with any poet, living or deceased, who would it be and why?
So for me,
Yes.
oh, okay. I would collaborate with Mary Oliver, and I would be like, I just would be, what do you think of mine? I would ask her what she thought of mine and how I could improve on and make it even more not tangible, but so you could see it the way I see it. So you could feel it the way I feel it, and so experience it the way I experience it. What could make it even better? And if she would let me, I'd be like all ears. So
Awesome, awesome. Now, looking over your work overall, what would you hope to accomplish with your work when all is said and done?
when all is said and done, I would like that people would join me in recycling and in um, taking plastic bottles, putting them in the recycle bin, paper and newspapers. If there is some way, sending it to a recycling center, um, partaking in conservation of the environment, because it's so beautiful, it's so important and so inspirational and to all of us. And also, if to encourage Congress to keep working on the gun laws, and they did put one together, and just join me in encouraging us to have more safety for kids in schools and people in grocery stores and Walmarts everywhere.
Excellent, excellent. And in addition to the book that you're planning, do you have any other projects or events that you would like to make mention to our audience?
No, it's just no, nothing right now.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to diving into your poetry book when it's completed. Do you have like an estimate as to when you would hope to have it finished and released?
A year.
Mhm.
A year, hopefully.
Okay, excellent, excellent. And for those not familiar with you, where can you be found on social media, or if you have a website, you're welcome to mention that.
Okay. I'm on Instagram, and let me get that. It's Tessa E. And I will get that. Okay, hold on. Sorry.
Mhm.
Tessa E. for Beauty, Nature in Poetry at 7383, and that's on Instagram.
Okay, excellent, excellent, excellent. Well, I'm sure all can agree that your poetry is definitely excellent. It's full of substance, awesome content, and I hope to read more of your work in the near future. I do thank you for being my guest. Excellent
Thank you, Noel.
conversation.
Thank you.
Now, as we close out, I'm going to share one more screen with you all. And I'm going to take this opportunity to say thank you. Thank you, Tessa, for taking time out to speak on your work and share about yourself. Thank you so much. I wish you all the best in your future endeavors. For those of you that wish to stay connected with all things Poets with Purpose and the P.W.P sessions, you can do so through the Facebook group Poets with Purpose, on Twitter @PoetsWPurpose, the YouTube channel of the same name, Poets with Purpose, and I'm also on Clubhouse @the Anointed Pen. Stay tuned for the final episode of 2022 that's coming up on Sunday, November 27th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will be featuring poet and author Thomas Fukuloro. For more information, you can call me at 646-372-6230 or email me at poetswithpurpose@gmail.com. All of my logos and flyers were designed by the excellent team at Eclipse Graphics NY. You can follow them on Instagram Eclipse Graphics NY, to look up samples of their work and connect with them for any of your projects if you choose. Lastly, for those of you that would like to make a donation, you could do so through PayPal, Tap Media Man, Cash App, $ Anointed Pen, or through Zelle, utilizing my phone number. Thank you all so much for tuning in this afternoon. This episode will be uploaded to the Poets with Purpose YouTube channel within the next hour or so, so be on the lookout for that. So you'll be able to share amongst your social media contacts and email contacts if applicable. Tessa, thank you again so much. Awesome poetry, great conversation. Thank you. Thank you to my audience. Thank you all so much for your support. Enjoy the rest of your day and have a good evening. God bless.
Bless.